Come in, Riley. Can you hear me? Riley? Riley, are you there?
Hello everyone! So, in case you haven't heard, the sequel to one of my favorite indie games, OXENFREE, is due to come out this year. It's called OXENFREE 2: Lost Signals. And so far, all we really know about the game is that it takes place 5 years after the first game, we have a whole new cast of characters, and the hero of the story is named Riley. An article from Elle magazine gives a pretty good description of the plot. According to Night School Studio, OXENFREE 2: Lost Signals will focus on Riley, an environmental researcher returning to her hometown of Kamina to investigate mysterious radio signals that are plaguing the town and interfering with the electrical equipment. While Night School Studio emphasizes that the game will feature an entirely new cast of characters, it does make an effort to note that OXENFREE 2: Lost Signals is set 5 years after the events of the first game. The sequel also shares the same locations as the original game, the fictional town of Kamina, Oregon, and the nearby Edwards Island. Of course, the developers aren't sharing too much about the story, so I thought I would take a look at the trailer and give some of my theories about what I think could happen in this game. So, with that said, let's hop on into this thing.
Welcome. First, we're gonna have a little fun tonight, folks.
The first shot of the trailer shows 3 kids sitting in front of a fireplace. If you look closely, this looks a lot like the beach from the first game, as you can see the same rock piles on the left. Right away, this tells us that we are going back to Edwards Island at some point in the game. Now, if we take a look at the kids, it appears like they're wearing masks on their face. But if you look closer, you can see that these are showing different phases of the moon cycle. The kid on the left is a full moon, much like the one in the sky. The kid behind the fire is a last quarter or third quarter moon. Meanwhile, the kid all the way to the right is a waxing crescent moon. If I'm right, that means the moon and possibly space itself is going to be important in the story. I also did a little research on what the different phases of the moon cycle could mean, in case that would help me put together the story. A full moon symbolizes completion, the height of power, reflecting on how far you have come, and the peak of clarity. This could mean that the ghosts have learned from their mistakes in the past and have become more powerful, and potentially wise enough to finally complete their mission to free themselves. A waxing crescent represents progress and expansion of your projects, not unlike how the developers are expanding on their project. It also means take consistent action and strengthen your resolve, or simply initiative. This could say how our protagonists are going to have to work hard to stop the ghosts. It could also be referencing Riley as how she's going to have to work hard to stop them. Finally, a last quarter moon means letting go of the habits that bind you and do you harm, much like the time loop that Alex and her friends were trapped in. It also means decline, which could potentially be why the kid wearing that mask is further back on the beach. If you put the 3 kids together, they all could symbolize a triple moon, which represents the phases of womanhood and growing up. This could be in reference to Riley, who is probably going to have to become more mature as the game goes on, since OXENFREE is typically known to be something of a coming-of-age story. Now, if we take a look at the symbols on the ground, we can see that there are 3 of them. I thought they might be moon glyphs, but none of them really match any specific glyph. I thought the symbol on the right could potentially be a waning gibbous. Waning meaning lacking brightness or clarity, or being feeble and sickly. I thought this could potentially be a callback to the first game, where the characters only started to feel worse and worse as the ghosts seeped into them more and more. I also thought that perhaps that could mean hidden, but I'm not really sure. The center symbol is possibly a new moon sign. It could also be a sign for protection. After doing some more research, I found that there are 2 witch symbols that look like they could have been combined. The outer circle could have been a ritual circle, which is required to begin or complete any ritual. They are also typically used for protection or completing something, perhaps like what the ghosts are attempting to do. Meanwhile, the inner symbol is a solar cross, which represents the sun, the earth, the 4 seasons, and the 4 elements, and it is also used in rituals for transformations, endings, beginnings, or solstices. The symbol all the way to the left was the hardest for me to figure out. I wasn't able to find anything that looked like this. The closest I was able to get to on this one was the moon glyph for air, but I'm pretty sure that's not it. If anyone knows what this symbol is for, I'm genuinely curious, so please let me know in the comments. You also may notice here that the moon goes from a full moon to a quarter moon. Like I said before, the full moon symbolizes clarity, while the first quarter moon represents decision-making and growth. This could show how the group goes from a world that they think makes sense to being forced to make important decisions to save the island. This really doesn't have all that much to do with anything, I just thought that maybe it could be symbolic.
Residents of Kamina have reported strange interruptions in their radio broadcast over the
So in this clip, we see Riley running towards an old disheveled lighthouse on the water. Now I have a few theories about what could be going on here. First off, we see that Riley is all alone, which is interesting because we see that she's with a friend in the next shot. They appear to be looking out on Edwards Island, because you can see Hardin Tower in the distance.
1-1, I need visual confirmation of the clouds above Edwards Island.
I'm assuming that she must have taken a boat to get to this lighthouse, since there doesn't appear to be any way to walk as far as I can see. My guess is that her and whoever this kid is were probably trying to take a boat to Edwards Island, but because of the storm, their boat might have crashed and maybe her and her friend fell over. Or he could have been caught up in a time loop. Either way, I think that they will get separated, and Riley is going to end up at this lighthouse trying to find help to get to the island. We can see that there are lights on inside, so my bet is that she's looking for help. This could always be a trap set by the ghost, though. If I had to guess, I would assume that this area is just off the coast of Edwards Island, because we never actually saw the lighthouse on the map in the first game. Plus, the storm they mention only seems to be appearing over Edwards Island, so naturally the lighthouse must be close by it. Now, if we go back to this clip, we can see that there appears to be 3 figures behind Riley and her friend. This is interesting because they are not on the island with the other ghosts. There are a few possibilities for who these people could be. They could be the 3 kids from the beach reaching out to Riley, since it did look like the ghost had taken over their bodies. I don't think that it's the regular ghost, since I'm pretty sure that they're all trapped on the island. Of course, I could be wrong, so please don't get mad at me if I'm completely off on this one. There is another possibility for who these ghosts could be, though. I wouldn't be surprised if these 3 were Alex, Clarissa, and Anna from the first game. In the first game, depending on your choices, you could end up trapping Alex and Clarissa in the rift. And we already know that Anna was trapped there, based on the Morse code messages that she was leaving for her friend Maggie Adler. There could always be a chance that these 3 ghosts are Alex, Clarissa, and Anna from different timelines where they stayed in the rift, and they're trying to warn Riley. I honestly hope that this is the case, because that would be really cool, and a great callback to the first game. I also had a thought about something that could be a really awesome callback to the first game. In the original, there's an anomaly you can find in the campgrounds that says this.
Yesterday, the remains of 4 bodies were discovered in 2 cars submerged west of Cape Mears. How the cars got in the water, no one...
When I saw this trailer, I thought back to this anomaly and thought maybe this could be referencing the 4 kids we see in the trailer, aside from Riley. This is probably reaching a bit, but what if these 4 kids get trapped in the rift, and Riley has to travel to the island to set them free, and to stop the ghost from taking anyone else? The first game already established that the ghost could see through all of time, everything that has happened or was going to happen. So I don't think it seems too far-fetched to assume that they could have seen an event that was going to happen 5 years in the future from when Alex found that anomaly in the first game. But that seems pretty unlikely and is probably not going to happen. Still, it would be pretty cool though. So in this clip, we see Riley tuning into a signal which cuts through a tree and a rock. Now this has never happened in the first game. Therefore, I would imagine that the signal is getting stronger. It also looks like Riley is on Edwards Island in this shot, so that definitely means that eventually she would probably get to the island. Now I just want to focus on this shot for a second, because we do see that the rift is open, but it looks pretty different from the rifts in the first game. In OXENFREE 1, when the rifts were active, they looked like they were underwater, while showing flashes of the submarine and the crew from the USS Kanaloa. Meanwhile here, the rift looks more like it's opening out into space and looking into the stars. I think that space could definitely be a key plot point in this game. The first shot of the trailer already used a lot of moon imagery, and since the moon can affect the tides, there could be a chance that the ghosts are using the moon to create the storm around the island. Additionally, we also see Riley is holding out her arms in this shot, like she's greeting whatever's inside the rift. This reaction is certainly very different from everyone else's reactions we've ever seen in OXENFREE, and brings up a few possibilities. Perhaps her friends were taken through the rift, and she's reaching out to them. Or maybe she could be sacrificing herself to close the rift, much like what Anna accidentally did in the first game. Also, if you want to go back to symbolism, upside-down triangles, like the one we see here in witch culture, represents washing away negative energy. So, if you think of it like that, Riley could be destroying the ghosts forever and setting them free. Either way, she doesn't appear frightened and is even ignoring whoever's calling her on her radio.
Riley, come in, Riley. Can you hear me? Riley? Riley, are you there?
I also have a theory that since someone is contacting her via radio, this could mean that you could speak with people outside the island. Since Riley is an environmental researcher, it would make sense for her to have a much better radio than Alex, and more equipment to face the ghosts. And there it is. That's all my theories about what could happen in OXENFREE Lost Signals. I do realize that I was probably digging a little too deeply into the trailer to try and find answers, but honestly, anything can happen in this game. And whatever happens, you know I'm going to be here for it. If you like my theories, let me know in the comments, and let me know if you have any ideas about what could happen in OXENFREE 2. Anyway, that's it. You can click off the video now. Bye!